In this instructional video, we intend to introduce the iMaster Inverters, also known as ADT, and get familiar with the various types of inverters this brand offers, as well as learn more about the features these inverters have. The iMaster brand, or ADT, has 4 types of inverters: the A1 model inverter, the U1 model inverter, E1 and C1. So the iMaster brand, or ADT, has 4 models of inverters: A1, U1, E1 and C1. Let's get to know each of these inverters better. The first model we mentioned is the A1 model. Each inverter has its own nameplate, and on that nameplate, certain information is provided. So the first model we introduced to you is the A1 model. Each inverter has its own nameplate, and on that nameplate, we can get to know the specifications of this inverter better. The A1 inverter also has a nameplate on the side of the device, and with this code, we can find out some information about our inverter. First, the model of the inverter is written, it's the A1 model. After the model, there's a dash, and after the dash, the power of our device is indicated. For example, if the number after the dash is 140, we look at the table and see that 140 corresponds to 37 kilowatts. You can see here 140 amps, and here as well 140 corresponds to 37 kilowatts. So after this dash, the power of my device is specified, which we check according to this table. Let's see now what the corresponding power of my device is. Here, the code we have 140, so we look at the table and see that 140 corresponds to a 37 kilowatt inverter. After the power of our device is determined, the number after the second dash specifies the input voltage of our inverter. According to this table, according to this nameplate, if the number after the second dash is 2, our input voltage is 3-phase 220 volts if it's 2, and if it's 4, our input voltage is 3-phase 380 volts. Alright, after the input voltage of the inverter is determined, the next letter specifies the keypad. If it's E, the keypad of this inverter is LED, and if it's C, the keypad is LCD. The last dash, followed by a number, indicates the device's IP rating. If it's 00, the IP rating is 00. If it's 54, the protection IP of this inverter is 54. So now we've become familiar with the nameplate of the A1 inverter. But what features does the A1 inverter have? You can use the A1 inverter both for general applications and for heavy-duty uses like winches, cranes, extruders, high power mixers, and so on. Any application where you need high torque. As we mentioned, its input voltage is 3-phase 220 volts, but you can also supply it with single-phase 220 volts. Its output is 3-phase 220 volts, and it also has 3-phase 380 volts on the input, which becomes the output as well. The power range of the A1 inverter from the iMaster brand for 3-phase 220 volt input and 3-phase 220 volt output is from 5.5 to 90 kilowatts, and for 3-phase 380 volts, it ranges from 5.5 to 160 kilowatts. But another feature that the A1 iMaster inverter offers is that you can have different operating modes with this inverter: VF, sensorless, and vector control. The A1 inverter is the only inverter in the iMaster brand, or the same as ADT, that can also operate for you in closed-loop mode. That means it supports both open-loop sensorless vector and also vector control in closed-loop mode with a very advanced PID. This inverter has analog inputs in the form of 0 to 10 volt and 4 to 20 milliamps. It also has analog outputs, both voltage and current types, and you can connect an encoder as an option. If you want to operate this inverter in closed-loop mode and connect an encoder to it, you need to get an option card and connect your encoder to that option card. It has digital inputs for start-stop commands, multi-step capability, and other features you might want to use with its digital inputs. It also has digital outputs, both relay and transistor types. The Modbus RTU protocol over RS485 network is built in, so you do not need to use an option card for that. The output frequency of this inverter can be adjusted up to 400 Hz. It has overcurrent limit, droop control capability, and you can set an overvoltage limit for it, meaning you can set an internal limit for overvoltage. It has a built-in DC choke for power ratings from 30 to 132 kilowatt. That means in the 30 to 132 kilobuffer range, this iMaster inverter model A1 has an internal DC choke. The operator LCD means its keypad is LCD, so you can easily set parameters on this inverter. Another feature is that up to 22 kilowatt, it has a built-in chopper or dynamic braking unit, so you do not need to use an external chopper up to 22 kilowatt. Here is the schematic of the A1 inverter from iMaster. Your input terminals are R, S, and T for three-phase input, and your output terminals are U, V, and W. The terminals for the DC link are P and N, and the terminals for the brake resistor up to 22 kilodolars are P and RB. That means you can directly connect the resistor up to 22 kilodolars to the P and RB terminals. It has 8 digital inputs, and you can assign different functions to these digital inputs. It has a 24V voltage source, analog input, analog output, and various relays provided for you. It has safety torque-off capability with terminals for safety torque-off. As mentioned, it supports the Modbus RTU protocol over RS485 network internally. Now, the next inverter from iMaster is the E1 model. The E1 model also has a nameplate from which you can see its specifications and get more familiar with the E1 inverter. The E1 inverter has a code on its nameplate. First, it lists the device model saying it is the E1 series. After that, there is a dash, then the device's power rating. For example, here 0.55, as you can see, means the device's power is 5.5 kilowatt. So after the model, the power rating is specified. Next, if it says SF, it means the inverter input is single-phase 220V. If it says LF, it means the inverter input is three-phase 220V. If it says HF, it means the inverter input is three-phase 380 to 440V. The last letter R refers to the DC reactor of the inverter. Now, the features of the iMaster E1 inverter: you can use the iMaster E1 model both for general applications and for heavy-duty applications. The E1 inverter is somewhat more compact in size and smaller than the A1 model. As we said, it has both single-phase 220V and three-phase 220V and 380V inputs. Its power range is from 0.4 up to 22 kilowatt for single-phase, from 0.4 up to 22 kilowatt for three-phase 220V, and from 0.4 up to 350 kilowatt for three-phase 380V. This E1 inverter also has a built-in Modbus RTU protocol over RS485 network, analog input and output in both voltage and current forms, and STO or safety torque-off capability. Its digital input and output are in relay form. For digital inputs, you can assign functions like start, stop, multi-step, and other features, and you can use its relays for various applications. This inverter has a potentiometer on its keypad, so you can change the output frequency using this potentiometer. The E1 inverter, like the iMaster A1 model, has a very advanced PID control. The operating modes supported by this inverter are VF and sensorless vector, and it only supports open loop mode. Its output frequency, like the iMaster A1 model, is adjustable up to 400 Hz and up to 22 kilowatt. This inverter also has dynamic brake, so you do not need to use an external chopper or dynamic brake up to 22 kilowatts. Here is the schematic of the iMaster E1 inverter. It has 6 digital inputs, analog output, analog input in both current and voltage forms, relay output, transistor output, and built-in RS485 network, so you do not need to use an option card. If you want to connect the input of this inverter, you use the RS and T terminals, and the output UVW connects to your electric motor. If you want to connect a brake resistor to this E1 inverter, you use the P and RB terminals. Now, the next model from iMaster is the C1 model. The C1 inverter also has its own nameplate, and from that nameplate, you can determine its specifications. On its nameplate, first, the device model is specified, saying this device is the C1 model. After the model and the first dash, the device's power is listed. For example, here 055 means 5.5 kilowatt, or 004 means 0.4 kilowatt. The last part, after the second dash, specifies the input voltage of this inverter. If it says HF, it means 380 volts heavy duty, and if it says HFP, it means 380 volts normal duty. If it says SF, the input is single phase, and if it says LF, the input is three phase, 220 volts. Now, as for the features of the C1 inverter from iMaster, you can also use the C1 inverter. You can use it for both general applications and heavy-duty operations. As we mentioned, it has single-phase 220 input, three-phase 220, and also three-phase 380 volts, and its power ranges. We said it ranges from 0.4 kilowatts up to 2.2 in single phase, from 0.4 to 15 kilowatts in three-phase 220 volts, and from 0.4 up to 160 kilowatts in three-phase 380 volts. The C1 inverter also natively supports the Modbus RTU protocol over RS485 network, so there's no need to use an option card for that. The keypad, this inverter is detachable. It has analog input and output, both in voltage mode and in 4 to 20 milliampere. It also has digital input and output. You can use each of the digital inputs for start, stop, fault reset, emergency, and other functions. You can also use the relay of this inverter for various applications. The C1 inverter also has a potentiometer, SATs, on its keypad that allows you to adjust the output frequency. With this dial, you can change it so you no longer need to use an external dial. Additionally, the C1 inverter also has it has a very advanced PID control. With this inverter, you can also set the frequency up to 400 Hz. It's adjustable up to 400 Hz. The operating modes it offers are VF and sensorless vector. With this inverter, up to a power of 22 kilowatts, you don't need to use an external chopper. It has a built-in dynamic brake, so you can connect your resistor directly to the inverter. But as you can see in the schematic of the C1 iMaster inverter, the input of the inverter is three-phase RST, and the output is UVW. If you want to connect the resistor directly, you can do so. The terminals are P positive and BDC. Your link is P positive and N negative, as you can see. The 30A, 30B, and 30C terminals are related to the relays. This inverter has a safety torque relay, which corresponds to terminals SC and S1. It has a transistor output. It has a built-in RS485 network with RXP and RXN as the input terminals. Its terminals are 6-pin, as we mentioned before. It has an analog output, and the analog input can be voltage or 4 to 20 milliamps. It has an ampere input, and you can see the other features of this inverter in this schematic. But the last model from the iMaster brand is the UN model. The UN model is also it has a nameplate where we can see the specifications of that inverter. First, this code specifies the model of the device for us. It says the U1 model. For master brand, after the dash, it specifies the power of the device. For example, 0.4 means 0.4 of a kilowatt after the dash. It specifies the input voltage of this inverter. It says if it's 4, it's three-phase 380 volts, and if it's 7, it's single-phase 220 volts. But the features that the U1 inverter from the master brand has is that you can use it for general and light applications, especially in machine manufacturing industries, due to the advantages that the U1 inverter offers. It has single-phase input, as we mentioned, and it also has three-phase input. The range, its power range in single-phase models goes up to 2.2, and in three-phase models up to 3.7. All of these features in the U1 inverter, considering its compact size. It has an RS485 network built in, so you no longer need to use an option card. It has analog input and output, both voltage and current types, digital input and output, as well as relay and transistor outputs. It's available on the keypad. This inverter also has a built-in potentiometer, so you can adjust the output frequency, and there's no need to use an external potentiometer. The output frequency of this inverter can be adjusted up to 400 Hz, and its multi-step function allows up to 16 steps. You can use it for its multi-step capability. The operating modes supported by this inverter are VF and sensorless vector. It has dynamic braking up to a power of 3.7 kilowatts. So you no longer need to use a chopper, and you can connect your resistor directly to this inverter. And here is the schematic of the U1 inverter. Its inputs, its three-phase inputs are R, S, and T, and for single phase, it's L1 and L2. The outputs, which are U, V, and W, are connected to your electric motor, your resistor. is also connected to the P positive and DB terminals. As you can see, it has analog input, both current and voltage types, and it also has analog output. You can see its digital inputs. It has an RJ45 port, which is for the RS485 network, a transistor output with open collector, and relay output. So in this tutorial video, we got familiar with 4 models of iMaster brand inverters. The first model was the A1, the second model was the E1, the C1 model, and the U1 model. We also got more familiar with the features these inverters have. In the next videos, each one of these inverters will be covered one by one in more detail. We'll get to know the features they have, and we're going to go through each feature on every single one of them. We'll explain each of these inverters and teach the features to our friends.